So welcome back to the More Nick Ackerman channel, and this is the Apple Watch Ultra. Now this is the original version, and I've had this watch since it came out way back in 2022, and I want to talk about my years later experience. You'll see this is the 49mm titanium case, ceramic. This is a sapphire crystal display, and it is a dive watch is what it's saying right there, 100 meters of water resistance. And you'll see right here, LTE and GPS compatible as well. Now, one of the things that really drew me about the Apple Watch Ultra when it first came out was its beautiful build quality, the titanium casing. That orange button didn't really draw me too much, but I get why it's there. It's trying to appeal to the sporty. You can see right here, there is some scuffs I got on it over the years. I even got some right there. And then I even had dropped it on tile floor and went ahead and dented it up pretty good. But I think for being nearly 3 years old, I've knocked this thing around multiple times. It definitely looks pretty staggering in terms of the display, no scratches whatsoever. So that sapphire crystal really does hold up. It really does. And this is one of the few Apple Watches where you could probably use it pretty much all the time without a case around it, and it should hold up pretty well. Although it's not perfect, it can still get banged up. So if you're a really rough person with your watches, you would definitely want to go ahead and get something a little more sturdy to protect the edges if you're really OCD about scuffs and scratches of that sort. That's a good angle. You could see the scuff right there. But a thing that really drew me to the Apple Watch Ultra when it first came out is that it just looks better to me than some of the regular Apple Watches. It looks a little more premium, a little bit more higher end. However, the Series 10 does look quite nice as well with the thinner bezels. But I think they were aiming towards a diver's crowd, and they kind of got me, honestly, when they first came out, because around this time, I did buy one of my first diver watches, the Citizen Pro Master. So at this time, I was kind of like into this style of watch, and the Apple Watch Ultra just happened to get launched that same year, and you can see they got the count up diver style watch face that came with this watch, and definitely drew me in for sure. But let's talk about some of the other things with this watch now. So when it comes to the Apple Watch Ultra, this is the original version. I did get the Ocean band with mine. This is a third-party band, but I did get the white one. And I have collected numerous bands over the year, but this video isn't about bands. We can go ahead and make a whole video about that, but I definitely have quite a few that I have gathered. And it's very easy to just buy some of these bands online and get, you know, these easy swappable bands here. So it's pretty fun to use them because you can dress them up for different occasions. Like nylon bands are good for comfort. The Ocean band is good for sport. You got the Nike bands. You can even get a stainless steel band to make it look a little more luxurious. But overall, you know, it's been pretty fun doing that. Now, from a display perspective, if we scroll into the settings and I go down to display here, this display gets plenty bright. It's one of the best things about the Ultra. It gets super bright. Easy to see outdoors. It's like 2000 nits or something like that when you do hit the highest brightness levels. So you have nothing to worry about when it comes to that. It's also a pretty darn large display, 1.92 inches. Now that seems like nothing when you compare it to a smartphone, but for a watch, this is a pretty large display. And it's been enjoyable over the years that I've had it. It's also pretty sharp at 338 density, so you really don't see any pixels whatsoever. It's a pretty sharp display, although a lot of smartwatches these days are getting pretty sharp. Now, I do have to say though that one thing this watch I had to get used to was its size, because while it isn't a small watch whatsoever, it definitely feels bigger on the wrist. If you like more wrist presence, you'll definitely prefer the Apple Watch Ultra, but it will feel huge if you have a smaller wrist. My wrist is somewhere between 7 and 0.2 to like 7.5 inches, is somewhere between there. So definitely, if you don't have if you have a skinnier wrist, this thing is going to look absolutely massive on your wrist. But it's not like super hard to wear. This thing, it does sit pretty nice on the wrist, and if you get a comfortable band, you kind of get used to it. So it wasn't really a major issue. The size, after a little bit, a lot of people were worried that the Apple Watch Ultra was going to be too big, but I can tell you over the years, yes, it still felt. This is not a sleek, thin Apple Watch like the regular Series 10, but definitely it feels more like a tool watch, more substantial. And if you want that more luxurious, substantial feel for your smartwatch, this would be the way to go. right here, including the Ultra 2, which is the same body, but with more battery life, maybe more brighter display, a few more features, but nothing crazy. I am looking forward to see what they bring with the Ultra 3 this year. Now, battery life for me, I can tell you the real world over the years of using this, it really depends on how you use it. One of the biggest drainers on battery though is the always on display, but at the same time, I want to use the always on display pretty much all the time. Like I said, always on display does affect it quite a bit, but I tend to get a pretty solid all day and then some going into 2, actually definitely into 2, closer to finishing a second day. So for me, the Apple Watch Ultra is a 2-day watch for sure. It doesn't go to me more than 3 though. It's like 2.5. Fitness tracking has also been superb on here. It's pretty motivating to close rings and stuff of that sort. And because of its big tool-like nature, you kind of want to use this stuff quite a bit on here. So it's pretty fun, honestly. It does get old after a while. You tend to just get used to it, and then it's like not overly exciting. It's just something you use. But when you first get this and you haven't tried it before, it is super fun. One thing I don't like about the always on display though is I don't see the second sweeping hand on there, but I do think we're going to see that on the iOS 26 or the upgraded watchOS 11 upgrades that are going to be coming here. And the watchOS upgrades that are going to be coming here in the fall are definitely going to be giving us that always on display where you see the second hand sweep and stuff of that sort. So that's pretty good. Now, when it comes to performance and speed of the watch these days, it hasn't really changed. You know, it's still just as fast as day one, and that's really good. It's been a really enjoyable software experience. I can get digital watch faces with different complications on here, as well as the Wayfinder, and you can add different analog styles and stuff of that sort. And I do really like the Apple Watch faces they include. However, there are watches that have way more faces, but I do feel like Apple has some of the more polished looking watch faces on the market. And I feel like a lot of competitors copy their watch faces or do something very similar to try to make it look like that. The inclusion of the night mode also has been really good at night. You really don't get bothered by your watch screen with this, but you can also go ahead and click on the right button to bring up this control area. And if we hit the sleep over here, let's go ahead and hit sleep. When we put on sleep, you can see that it gets really dim anyway, but you don't have analog there. It would be nice if they would include an analog option for when you do have always on display for this, because some people don't always want digital, but a lot of people do. I'm just saying it'd be nice to have options there, but you know, with Apple, you don't get all the options in the world. That's just a part of using the Apple ecosystem. But I have been enjoying the night mode for this Wayfinder watch face. Definitely, I do still think that the way Apple Watch operates is one of the smoothest out there, one of the more easy ones to use. You can quickly switch between the list view, and you have some of the best watch applications on the market today. So one of the things with Apple Watch is that most watches don't really compete super well with this when it comes to the App Store. So they have a lot of apps that you can get on the Apple Watch, and it really does make this watch stand out over the competition. Definitely. Also, because of the shape of this watch, there's a lot of watches now copying the shape of the Apple Watch, but it does give you more of a smartwatch feel. The circular watches are beautiful, don't get me wrong, and I do enjoy them, but they give me more of a real watch feel, which in that case, sometimes I rather just use a real watch because I bought it to be a smartwatch. And so you can see it just kind of flows nicely with this smartphone shaped watch face right here. But yeah, the apps, the polish of the software, it's still head and shoulders above a lot of the competition. I think the Galaxy watches are pretty competitive though. But some of the other ones out there, some of the cheap copies out there definitely do not compete well with this product right here. So one of the things though is that at the time when this watch came out, you did have to pay a pretty hefty penny to get your hands on one of these. They were around $800, and they actually were pretty popular. I've seen people waiting in line when these came out. But now you could find these on Amazon for the Prime Day at $378. You scroll around, the Ultra 2 is still pretty up there, $650, but you could find these secondhand around under $400 now for the original version. And I still think it's quite worth it. They do have quite a bit of software support left, and they're really rather nice. Now, with all Apple Watches, you do have to use the Apple Watch application, which is okay. Definitely, you expect that. It's really polished, and it's going to get better with iOS 26. But one of the things I wish Apple would do is start adding more watch faces. They do have a lot of them, and they, again, like I said, they're pretty polished. They give you that luxury feel with some of those watch faces, like the GMT watch face, the lunar watch faces, giving you like a moon style watch. You get the Metropolitan. There is a lot of options. Don't get me wrong, Nike, but I feel like they don't add them fast enough. It takes a long time for them to add watch faces, and that's one of the things I like more about my Galaxy Watch. Like they go to town with the Apple Watch or with the watch faces. This one, it feels like we have a lot of polished ones, but it takes forever for new ones to come. And then they sometimes add things I don't even care about, like this palette one, for example. Like this is just not what I'm looking for. Sometimes I want to see more analog styles and more digital styles because that's what's more useful to me. So definitely the faces really good, the ones they do have, but they just take a while to bring new ones on board, which I think they could improve on. So I'm not going to dive too much more into all of the software features. We'll be here all day. You know how they roll. It's pretty much like an iPhone on your wrist. What I'm trying to really do here is just give you the years later ownership update. I have really enjoyed, though, this button over here that allows you to track your workouts. And I've noticed, too, a lot of competitors have been copying that as well. This action button to go ahead and just start your workout. That has been huge for the way you want to use this type of watch, because one of the main things is I usually use this just for fitness tracking and sleep tracking for the most part. Then during the day, I actually tend to use a regular style watch, whether it's an analog watch like this or a G-Shock style watch, something like this watch right here, this G-Shock G8010. I use something like that for a regular day-to-day, but this one I use for mostly fitness tracking and sleep tracking. It's been phenomenal in that respect. The accuracy of the heart rate sensors and ECGs are pretty on point as well. I actually did have a doctor's appointment a while back, and I used this and I wanted to see if it matched up, and he showed me his heart rate monitor. Doctor showed me his heart rate monitor, and it was only off by like maybe 2 beats per second, something like that. So definitely pretty good. Right now my BPMs are a little bit higher because I just got back from a workout actually right before making this video. So that's why that's up there right now, but pretty accurate stuff, if I'm being totally honest with you. If you do want a watch that is more sleek, though, I recommend against this one. I would say get the Series 10, but if you're looking for something more rugged, sporty, diver style, you'll enjoy this. Also, there is a mode to get the water out. You can see it right there. I'm not going to click it because then it starts to feature up. But generally, I don't really shower with this too much, even though I could, or bathe or take it in the pools or anything like that, because it's just you get water in there and then you have to get the water out. So while you can, I don't tend to do it that much, even though it's definitely certified for it. I just don't really like doing that because of the speakers in here. But I know it is strong enough to do it, and I have done it a couple times, but then I had to use that feature to get the audio to sound better. So I'm not a fan of that personally, even though it is capable. So the resale value right now on this is around $400 or so. So you still retained a good amount if you kept it this long. And is it time to move on, or is this still an absolute beast? And I gotta tell you, it's still an absolute beast. The Apple Watch Ultra right here. Let me get this off the wrist. Ugh, had that on there pretty tight. It's definitely an absolute beast though right now. But they are going to be going to the Apple Watch Ultra 3, and they're probably going to thin out the case this year. It's likely going to be thinner bezels, probably around the edges. And I probably will upgrade and cover the newer version later this year. But yeah, that's my years later experience with this. I've had it since it came out, and it's been a pretty phenomenal watch here. My favorite smartwatch ever made actually has been the Apple Watch Ultra. I still don't know that I like it more than regular watches, but as a smartwatch, it's definitely been phenomenal. Thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know your thoughts on the Apple Watch Ultra, Ultra 2, maybe Ultra 3 on its way. Are you excited? Do you have one? Have you had one? Let's discuss it down below in the comments. Thank you very much for watching the More Nick Ackerman channel, and I'll catch you on the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well. and peace.